That's it? That's Arbiter?
Meow.
Hi guys, Younggrown here. Today we're gonna bring you a new build, which is Shockburst rounds with Lightning Rod. And in order to understand this build, you have to understand several things about it. The first part of this build is Shockburst rounds, right? And Shockburst rounds is this ability. It fires really, really fast, and it does almost no damage unless if the target is shocked, okay? Most traditional Shockburst rounds, they fire Stormcaller arrow and they shock the boss, and you see them go do, right? And they do damage. But this build is a little different. On this build, we use Lightning Rod to shock, which is a bow skill. In order for you to understand what this really does, is Lightning Rod is a skill that you shoot in the air, and it places whichever amount of rods on the ground for the number of arrows you have, right? And they stay there for about 12 seconds, and any chain that hits the rod will set it off for 97 weapon damage at level 29. So you shoot it, and then the third part of the combo is Orbistorms, right? And you use the Orbistorms, and you can see the lightning rods, right? They're getting shocked, right? Right. Orbistorms has a line on it that says, fires a bolt every 2.65 seconds, or when you use a lightning skill. So when you combine Orbistorms, right, and Shockburst rounds, you see all the lightning bolts going crazy? You see all the lightning bolts going crazy? That's what happens, right? So you combine Lightning Rod, Orbistorms, and Shockburst rounds, and it goes giga crazy. If I set down 20 lightning rods on the ground, right, and I cast an Orbistorms, and I hold down Shockburst rounds, it melts all the rods, right? Your Shockburst rounds triggers the Orbistorms, which triggers the lightning rods. The lightning rods shock, which gives you more damage on Shockburst rounds, and it's like an ever-ending cycle of damage until you run out of rods. And then that's your whole burst, right? We use that for single target damage. For clear, we use galvanic shards, okay, which is this skill, and it shoots everywhere, right? And that combined with lightning rod, because you know galvanic shards also chain, will give you clear damage for rares, right? And what we're doing with galvanic shards is we're putting all of these supports like fork, ricochet, and conduction, because 100% more chance to shock, to proc Herald of Thunder, and Herald of Thunder is actually your main damage source in maps. So you kill the mobs with your galvanic shards, your Herald of Thunder procs, and your Herald of Thunder is gonna like start shooting lightning bolts at everything, and the whole map's gonna get cleared. And that's the mechanic we use to clear maps. And why this is efficient is because since you already have all your supports on Lightning Rod and Shockburst rounds, you need a skill that doesn't really use damage supports to be able to kill everything. Okay, that's the explanation of the build. We're good enough, right? How soon can you start this? You want to go leveling? You want to go Lightning Arrow into Lightning Rod with Orbistorms right off the bat, right? That's how you level. And then when you're 41, you get Shockburst rounds, you can switch to this setup. I'll put a leveling setup in Mobalytics. Okay, let's go over gearing real fast, right? So gearing for this, the main part of the build,
I have blue gear just to make sure one for the last fucking time, to make sure if you're brain dead like you are, because you're asking a question after I explained it 50 times, if you're absolutely fucking brain dead and the game is too fucking hard for you and you don't know how to fucking play the game and you can't craft any gear because you're fucking stupid, you can use blue gear and still do all the goddamn content because I made it fucking brainless for you for the goddamn last time.
okay. So I have a base Hand of Wisdom in action here that you can buy for about 2 divines. And I really don't like using this item, but because it's kind of OP, but I'm not really doing OP shit with it. Number one, attack speed isn't really good for lightning rods, except for like, I don't know, I guess you put them down faster. But because since we need to use Orbistorms, right? There's a line on Orbistorm, you see this line right here? It says orb disappears after 27 bolts, right? And the higher level it is, the more bolts it is, right? And the higher level lightning rod is, the more times it could be chained to, right? So I needed to level up Orbistorms anyways, right? To get the extra bolt. By the way, quality is very important on Orbistorms. When you level, you should quality your Orbistorms and quality your Herald of Thunder right away. Because I don't know what was going through their heads when they were making these skills, but giving you 2 extra lightning strikes is kind of crazy because the initial skill is only 3, and Orbistorms getting 2 more chains when the initial is like 3 is kind of like nuts, right? Or it gives you 3 more chains when initial is like 2 or something. I don't remember. But getting the quality on these 2 skills are really, really crazy. So you should definitely invest in those right away. But so
Can
so
you
that's why
Google
we have int,
translate
right?
this from me out to English before YouTube? Or at least put some subtitles, cats.
Do you guys need to do this? Like, fine, dude. Okay, anyways, so since we're already getting all of that int anyways, we might as well just use this because it's free damage, right? And I have this chest here. It's just life, attributes, whatever. You can get a 4-socket one for like pennies. It doesn't really matter. Like 1 socket isn't gonna kill you. I just had this one previously. For a helmet, I'm using a Zeres so I can get a little bit extra ES because, I don't know, pure life builds kind of stink right now. So when I'm hitting like 92, 93, I'll have the extra ES node. I'll probably end around like 2600, 2700 life and like 2200, 2300 ES, which is, with Grim Feast, it's enough for mapping, especially if I kill everything super, super fast. The crossbow doesn't really need all that much, right? Attack speed on the crossbow is okay, but attack speed on the bow is no good. Projectile levels is okay because your Shockburst rounds and your Galvanic shards do not take a lot of mana to reload. Even with the 6 crossbow thing, you can see that it's like rather okay for your mana, right? Because you're stacking so much int already. So getting crossbow levels is pretty good. You either want fizz damage on your bow or lightning damage or wed as a prefix, as a suffix, plus levels, attack speed, nothing else really. What's your second weapon? It's a bow. Same thing for the bow, right? Except for bow, you kind of don't want attack speed because you can get it on your quiver. I don't even have it on my quiver, but on your quiver, you want increased damage with bows, projectile skills, and like flat, right? Or like projectile speed is also okay. On your amulet, definitely want proj skills. Any attributes is fine. Any res is fine. Life is here, fine. Like energy shield is good. Ring, lightning, flat lightning is good. Life is good on top. Evasion rating is good. Increased lightning damage is good. On the bottom is just res and attributes or rarity or whatever you want. You know, like you could do whatever you want. Same thing for this other ring. Just, you know, res, life for belt, and then movement speed, life, and res for your boots. It's pretty simple gearing. Like you can do this in SSF. Your jewels are, I chose movement speed. I'm not crit on this build, so you know that line's worthless, but I just had this. But it's just basically attack damage, damage with crossbows, you know, damage against rares, reload speed is okay, projectile damage, attack speed, just like whatever damage mods you can find. Damage with crossbows is like okay, but it's not really, really good because like half your damage is bow damage anyways, so you kind of want to get like generic elemental damage, attack damage, projectile damage. Those are the better damage nodes that you can get, right? And this is the tree right here. You start off right here. Make sure you get the pen nodes because pen is very, very important in this game. I think a lot of people skip out on those and it makes their mapping experience really, really bad. But make sure you get your pen nodes. Your points are kind of split, right? Once you get your endgame tree going, you want your weapon 1 to have like all of these mapping nodes, right? Or weapon set 1 to have all the mapping nodes. And your weapon set 2 has all the single damage, single target nodes like this for bows, this for bows, and just like whatever other nodes that you can get for damage. Oh, the quiver nodes, sorry. These, right? And that's it. That's it for gearing and your tree. Yeah, Oroth still works. It definitely still works. Oh shoot, I need to go over the links. For links, Galvanic, Ricochet, Fork, Conduction is going to be your 4 main links. Primal Armament is like what you want to put in, and you want to swap between when you have a 6 link. Swap this between this and rods because you actually have a support overlap, right? And Primal Armament is kind of good. And I have Culling Strikes here if you have a 6 link. I don't even have a 6 link on my character, so it doesn't really matter. Shockburst rounds, you want Elemental Focus because it can't shock anyways, right? Martial Temple for attack speed. Heft isn't really a lot of damage, and Execute isn't really a lot of damage. You can also put like Culling Strikes here, switching from Galvanic if you're going to a full single target setup, which is also okay, right? Your Lightning Rod is Conk, Primal Armament, Close Combat, Lightning Infusion, and Rising Tempest, right? If you're doing Arbiter or something, you might want to do Lightning Pen over here because you only have, I think Arbiter has like 75 res. So if you're doing Arbiter, you definitely want to go Lightning Pen here. On my Herald of Thunder, wait, I should have Lightning Pen somewhere here, right? Oh, I don't have Lightning Pen. There we go. Oh, I knew I was missing something. But yeah, other than that, like you're okay. For Herald of Thunder, which is your main like mapping skill, what that triggers off Galvanic, you want Magnify effect because Magnify like Herald of Thunder triggers in like a little AoE, right? So making that a little bit bigger is actually quite good. Lightning Mastery because you have nothing else. Innervate to get you a little bit more damage, and long shot, since your Herald of Thunder is always going to be like triggering like off the screen anyways, so it's like rather good. Wind Dancer here, you could use it with like Maim and Blind. I just don't have anything here. It's going to be like Maim, Blind here, which is like probably the two main links that you want on Wind Dancer anyways. I have Grim Feast here with the Precision. I have a little bit of extra Spirit on my guy because I have an Amulet, but people normally don't. You could put like Clarity here if you really want to, right, for a little bit more regen. It's like fine if you do have that. And then you have your Emergency Reload, which is Premeditation, Ingenuity, and Murderous Intent. And this basically buffs your like Shockburst rounds damage. But like I said, your Shockburst round damage is like, I don't know, like an eighth of your Lightning Rod damage in the setup. So it's not really necessary to press this, but I use this while mapping a lot because it gives my Galvanic a little bit more damage, and it like, you know, just reloads for me for free, and then like, you know, just keep shooting rares and stuff. The links for Orbistorms is Overabundance right here. It's Overabundance. Oh shoot, I forgot something. Overabundance, Unleash, and Chain. Right, yep, there we go. Here's the thing though, because I'm currently on a 5 link and my rod is level 19. You can see that on the bottom, it says chain 16 times, right? But if you see, like, if I level this one more time with another node, you can see that my rod actually goes up to 17 times. So getting gem levels is very important because that's an extra axis of scaling, right? Not only does the attack damage goes up, but the number of chains goes up. So if I get a 6 link here, right, with an extra chain, here, say every rod does 100 damage, right? Right now, times 20 times 16, right? If you get, and if you get 17 chains, 32,000 becomes 34, right? It's not like an incredible amount, but it's still good enough of an upgrade because you go blowing through all your rods anyways, right? And you get the weapon damage, right? From, I don't know, 97 to like 102 or something like that. So it's like it's a double axis scaling upgrade. So gem levels are kind of important when getting rod, but you don't want to get like, you don't want to add like another like jewel onto this because then your mana goes out of control and you can't even cast your rods anymore. Then that becomes like a huge problem. But yeah, level 30 is about like the maximum you want to go to. What is the boss rotation? The boss rotation is you put down lightning rods, you put down Orbistorms, and you shoot Shockburst rounds. So before you even get to the boss, right, you should be switching to Shockburst rounds because you never use Galvanic Shards on bosses. So you press Q first, and then I just put down rods, and then I freaking put down Orbistorms, and I just hold down right click, and then boss dead, right? And on maps, it's just hold down right click on Galvanic Shards. Can you explain the math behind 99 rods in PoB? Yeah, I explained the rods earlier, right? So Lightning Rod, it reads, arrows disappear after being chained to you 16 times, right? So the total number of rods that you can put down on the ground is 20, right? You see maximum active arrows, 20, number of chains disappears, 16. So if you have 20 arrows, right, and they get the chain to 16 times, you get 320 hits, right, for rods. On my PoB, it's actually 17 because I have level 20 here. So it's 17 times, right? And when I go into PoB, the number of hits doesn't go past 99. So 99 rods times 3.4 is 336 rods, right? Stupid math. Anyways, so that's why I have it set like that. That makes sense, right? This is kind of a complicated build, to be honest. It has like a lot of moving parts. Anyways, I hope that's a good explanation. And with this, we combine both skills to generate huge amounts of damage. This is going to be pound for pound the best crossbow DPS you can play in Path of Exile 2. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? What do you guys think? Pound for pound? Pause for pause?